Hi, everyone. This is Ali Hussein Kasim of Ali Talks Tech. This week's weekly roundup of tech news across Africa and the world. We look at several stories. First, there's a gentleman who posted something super interesting, or rather, I saw a nice infographic, what he calls the visa apartheid. I want to talk about it from a brain drain and brain gain perspective and Africa's youth bulge. So I'll come back to that story shortly. Then, major moves in African tech and finance. The Kenya government proposed sale of 35% of their stake in Safaricom. What this stake means, what are the implications for M-PESA Africa, and what are the potential reverberations on the mergers and acquisitions space in Africa, especially when it comes to tech. Then we look at crypto news in Kenya, where a Canadian decentralized finance player called Valour is proposing to enter the Kenyan market through the Capital Markets Authority. And they are speaking about ETFs, exchange traded funds. And we'll then look at Opera Mini's play into the stablecoin market in Africa with 500,000 downloads already on their app. Will they see traction in Africa? Last but not least, this is hot news coming out today. Safaricom's announcement of a $500 million investment in AI. Could this signal Africa's AI push in itself? We'll cover that. Now, back to my first story by Isaac Christopher Lubogo. Isaac created an interesting infographic, and I just want to go through it here on my screen. When denial becomes the norm and permission the exception, then diplomacy has turned into economic discrimination. So he's talking about visa apartheid, how Europe's gatekeeping machinery bleeds Africa of dignity and wealth. And then he breaks down the cost of visas and the percentage of rejected visas and the estimated loss. Nigeria, 60% of visas rejected, Ghana 55%, Uganda 48%, Kenya 52%, South Africa 45%. Total visas paid $60 million, total estimated loss $35 million. Look, I don't want to go into more detail, but what I want to say is this. Africa's median age is between 18 to 19 years old. Number one, we have a youth bulge. Number two, Africa is the richest continent in terms of natural resource. Why the F are we still talking about this? What is wrong with us? Guys, we need to start asking the right questions, and we need to start drilling into the deeper question of why Africans are dying crossing the Mediterranean going into Europe. Yet, we have a continent with humongous opportunity. And I've talked about this many times. And let me repeat again. Africa does not have a youth dividend. Africa has a youth bulge. For you to get a dividend, you need to work that bulge. So what's up with us? We need to deal with the issues. We need to deal with how we elect leaders. We need to deal with how we keep our leaders in check in terms of checks and balances and accountable. If we don't do that, we'll be cutting this story and starting to talk about visa apartheid and stuff like that. Yet, some countries in Europe, like France apparently, cannot operate without the wealth of West Africa. Come on, guys. Let's change the conversation from victims to actual producers of wealth, not just in Africa, but across the world. Now, I want to move to my story about the Kenya government's proposed sale of Safaricom, of the Safaricom stake worth about 149 billion. This is important for us to discuss, because M-PESA has become super predominant in financial services. Now it's gone beyond Kenya, and it covers quite a number of African countries. M-PESA has created joint venture between itself and Vodacom called M-PESA Africa. This M-PESA Africa has 88 million users and beyond. So guys, what are the implications here? How will this affect M-PESA's growth? This is an open-ended question. I don't have an answer. Potentially another aspect we need to start thinking about is the mergers and acquisitions aspect of tech and telco in Africa. We have seen the major telcos, MTN, Airtel Money, and Orange Money to a smaller extent, separating their mobile money operations. MTN has sold a stake in MTN Fintech Group to MasterCard worth $200 million. We have seen Airtel doing the same to MasterCard. We have a couple of large, super interesting fintechs in Africa. Cellulant comes to mind. Flutterwave comes to mind, that has announced a potential IPO, that's initial public offering in the New York Stock Exchange. We have other players like PesaPal, Fair Money, MoneyPoint, which other one? I mean, we have quite a number of big fintechs across Africa. Are we going to see some renewed interest in stakes into these companies? And probably I think I need to do a conversation with senior fintech and bankers on a round table, and where we discuss this conversation. Keep this in mind in the next couple of weeks. What are the potential risks and rewards? From a fiscal injection perspective, obviously, the Kenya government gets quite a bit of money into its treasury. Here's the key takeaway. For me, this is a signal. It's a signal that could potentially, if this happens, it could potentially wake up the whole M&A ecosystem across Africa. Now let's look at crypto news in Kenya. Canadian decentralized finance company called Valour has applied for approval from Kenya's Capital Markets Authority to list a crypto EFT, including Bitcoin and Ethereum, on the Nairobi Securities Exchange as early as August 2025. This is interesting, coming on the back of the virtual assets bill that is imminently coming into Kenya's parliament to be read and discussed, and we get into our public participation phase. And I'm here to tell you, as chair of the Association of Fintechs, that we have an opinion on this. We are waiting to be asked to submit our opinion as far as this bill is concerned. So keep it here. We'll be talking a little bit about this. This is important from a crypto perspective. Number one, crypto adoption is surging, despite the fact that there is what we call, in legal terms, a legal lacuna about crypto in Kenya. You have close to 1 million crypto users this year in Kenya. ETFs offers a safer access. Will give both retail and institutional investors a more secure and regulated entry point into the world of digital assets. Then, of course, I've talked about the regulatory momentum, so no need to belabor that point. We are really waiting how this will pan out and whether we'll have a robust public participation period before this bill becomes law. Kenya has sort of lagged behind when it comes to crypto policy and regulation. The big players in crypto policy and regulation in Africa are Nigeria, South Africa, and to a lesser extent, Ghana. In this whole conversation, you have some key players that I want to mention across Africa. You have Yellow Card, which is a licensed exchange in Southern Africa, also plays a sort of Pan-African role, although in many markets is still not regulated. You have Bybit, which is the second largest crypto exchange in the world, behind Binance, which is expanding rapidly in Africa. Fun fact, since Binance's troubles in Nigeria, Bybit has stepped in and become the number one crypto exchange in Nigeria. And of course, we have Binance with its deep presence despite its regulatory headwinds in Nigeria. From a big picture perspective, I see this as important from a regulatory backing and innovative financial instrument perspective. With this, I think we can move now to start playing the role that we deserve to play in the crypto ecosystem in Africa. Next, still on crypto, Opera Mini, which is an offshoot of the Opera Mini browser, which has become super popular across Africa, and launching a stablecoin wallet. I've tried it, by the way. It's quite interesting. The simplicity of it, its ability to move from mobile money across the different mobile money players into the stablecoin, USDT, and back could be a game changer across Africa. This could address the remittance conversation across Africa. Are they going to meet some regulatory headwinds? Not sure. I haven't drilled deeper into this. I will. I want to see where they stand from a regulatory perspective from their home market in Nigeria. But I can tell you from a user experience perspective, generally, let me just say this, generally, from a user experience perspective, crypto exchanges platforms, their apps, and their websites, they are just so user-friendly. I'll just use a Swahili word. Halwa kabisa. I'm telling you. If you compare the user experience, how these guys map out the user journey, and then compare to traditional players, these guys are eating dust when it comes to crypto exchanges. So this will be interesting to see whether it will gain the traction because I said 500,000 downloads, but downloads are vanity metrics. We want to see actual usage over the next couple of months. My last conversation is around Safaricom's 500 million announcement of AI investment. This is big, guys. How this money is going to be disbursed or going to be used, we still don't know, but that announcement itself is crucial because to date, from an AI perspective, Africans are just users. We are just consumers. We need to start owning this space from an infrastructure perspective, from an LLM perspective, from a platform perspective. So this is me rooting for Safaricom. You go, guys. Asanteni sana. Looking forward to hearing and speaking to you again next week. Thank you.